the United States is changing, and not always for the better. While the country's population has grown by about 1% in recent years, many of our cities are shrinking, losing residents, jobs, and the tax revenues that keep them afloat. It's a troubling trend that's hard to ignore. As I've dug into the data, census reports, think tank studies, and journalistic investigations, a clear picture has emerged. Some cities are on the brink of collapse. They're grappling with economic stagnation, rising crime, and crumbling infrastructure, all at the same time. This isn't just a story about numbers. It's about the people who live in these cities, the businesses that struggle to survive, and the communities that are being hollowed out. It's about the ripple effects that could impact the entire country if we don't pay attention. In this piece, I'll highlight 10 U.S. cities showing the strongest signs of distress. These aren't just isolated cases, they're warning signs of a larger systemic issue. By understanding what's happening in these cities, we can start to ask the bigger questions. What went wrong? And more importantly, what can we do to fix it? Let's take a closer look. Key selection criteria when identifying the cities most at risk of decline for our analysis. The U.S. is falling apart. These 10 U.S. cities are next. We focused on a set of key criteria that signal distress. These indicators, drawn from recent metrics and reporting, paint a picture of urban areas struggling to maintain stability and growth. Here's how we made our selections. First, we looked at population decline. Cities losing residents are often grappling with deeper systemic issues. Using census and ACS estimates, we flagged areas with significant projected population losses. For instance, Milwaukee County is expected to shrink by approximately 1% by 2028, a stark indicator of waning appeal and opportunity. Next, we examined economic weakness. Job losses, business departures, and poor rankings on economic indices were major red flags. The Milken Best Performing Cities Index, for example, ranked Memphis at a dismal 196 out of 200 metros in 2025. Such low rankings reflect a lack of economic dynamism, which can spiral into further challenges for residents and businesses alike. Crime and safety were also critical factors. Rising violent and property crime rates, as reported by police, FBI data, and news outlets, signal a breakdown in public safety. Missouri lawmakers, for example, cited population loss, rising crime, and low morale as reasons for taking over St. Louis's police department. When crime rises, it erodes trust, deters investment, and accelerates outmigration. Finally, we considered infrastructure and social strain. Decaying transit systems, failing utilities, deteriorating housing, and high rates of homelessness are all signs of cities under immense pressure. Governance failures and large-scale protests often accompany these issues, creating a feedback loop of instability. These urban problems don't exist in isolation. They compound and reinforce one another, making recovery even harder. By focusing on these criteria, we identified cities where the warning signs are flashing brightest. These are places where urgent action is needed to prevent further decline. 10. Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama finds itself on this list due to a troubling combination of slow population loss, rising crime, and economic distress. While the city has long been a cultural and historical hub of the South, its current challenges paint a picture of a community struggling to maintain its footing. The city's population has been steadily declining, albeit modestly. In 2023, Birmingham's population was approximately 199,322, reflecting a 55% drop from the previous year. This slow but persistent decline is part of a decades-long trend, fueled by suburbanization and the relocation of jobs to surrounding areas. While the numbers may not seem dramatic, they underscore a broader issue. Birmingham is losing its ability to retain residents, particularly younger generations seeking better opportunities elsewhere. Crime has also become a significant concern, with 2024 marking a historic spike in gun violence. Homicides reached record levels, shaking the community and prompting urgent action. But in response, Birmingham approved its largest ever police budget, nearly $130 million, 0 cents for fiscal year 2026, in an effort to curb the violence and restore a sense of safety. While this investment is a step in the right direction, it also highlights the severity of the crisis and the resources required to address it. Economically, Birmingham faces deep-rooted challenges. The city's median household income hovers around $44,000, significantly below the national median, while the poverty rate remains alarmingly high at approximately 25%. These figures reflect a community where many residents are struggling to make ends meet. Compounding the issue, the city's finances are under strain due to high demands for essential services like healthcare, education, and public safety. Adding to Birmingham's woes is its aging infrastructure. Decades-old water and waste systems, along with crumbling roads, represent long-term liabilities that will require substantial investment to repair. These issues not only hinder daily life for residents, but also make the city less attractive to potential newcomers and businesses. Birmingham's challenges are significant, and while efforts are being made to address them, the road to recovery will require sustained focus, investment, and innovation. Without meaningful change, the city risks further decline. 9. Oakland, CA. Oakland, California, has long been a vibrant and diverse city, but in recent years, it has faced mounting challenges that threaten its stability and growth. From a pandemic-induced downturn to a struggling housing market and persistent social issues, Oakland's trajectory has become increasingly precarious. The pandemic dealt a significant blow to Oakland's population and housing market. Early in the 2020s, the city saw a sharp decline in both residence and rental prices, as many households moved to the suburbs or left the Bay Area altogether. By May 2024, the median rent for a one-bedroom apartment had risen modestly by 4% year-over-year to $1,830.00. However, this figure remains over 20% below its May 2019 level, reflecting a sluggish recovery in demand. The exodus of residents has left a lasting impact on the city's economic and social fabric. Oakland's housing market continues to struggle, with home prices taking another downward turn. In April 2025, the typical house price was approximately $767,000, 0 cents, 6% lower than the previous year. This decline has effectively erased all the gains made during the pandemic-era housing boom. Developers facing high construction costs and weak demand have pulled back on new condominium projects, further stalling the city's housing growth. The slump in both rental and homeownership markets underscores the broader economic uncertainty facing Oakland. Homelessness and crime remain two of the city's most pressing issues. Oakland has one of the highest homeless populations in the Bay Area, with over 4,000 unsheltered individuals recorded before 2024. This has fueled street disorders, public health concerns, and frequent encampment removals, which numbered in the hundreds between 2021 and 2023. Despite these efforts, the problem persists, highlighting the chronic nature of the crisis. Safety is another constant worry, with business owners frequently citing shoplifting and assaults as major deterrents to patronage. These issues not only impact the city's economy, but also erode the sense of community and security. Oakland's challenges are deeply interconnected, and while the city has shown resilience in the past, addressing these issues will require bold and sustained action. Without significant intervention, Oakland risks further decline, leaving its future uncertain. 8. Kansas City, MO. Kansas City, Missouri, is grappling with a surge in crime, demographic shifts, and economic challenges that are straining its urban core. While the city has long been a cultural and economic hub in the Midwest, recent trends suggest a troubling trajectory that could jeopardize its future. One of the most alarming issues facing Kansas City is the ongoing crime wave, particularly property crime. Between 2019 and 2023, property crime soared by 31%, driven largely by an explosive 138% increase in car thefts. By mid-2024, police were logging an average of 654 stolen car reports per month, with a staggering 900+ reported in July alone. This surge in thefts has left residents and business owners feeling vulnerable and frustrated as the city struggles to get a handle on the problem. High-profile crimes have further galvanized public concern. In September 2024, a man was tragically killed while intervening in a downtown carjacking, shocking the community and prompting a wave of safety meetings. Neighborhood groups have reported boarded-up businesses following repeated break-ins, a visible sign of the toll crime is taking on the city's economy and sense of security. These incidents have heightened community alarm and underscored the urgent need for effective solutions. In response, city leaders have taken steps to address the crisis. Kansas City has expanded jail capacity and increased police resources in an effort to combat the crime spike. Additionally, the city launched a back-to-business security grant program to support small businesses affected by break-ins. While these measures are a step in the right direction, they highlight the scale of the challenge and the resources required to restore safety and stability. Demographic shifts are compounding Kansas City's struggles. While suburban areas of the metro continue to grow, the urban core is experiencing an exodus of younger families seeking safer, more affordable neighborhoods. Rising crime and housing costs in the city are driving this flight, further eroding the vibrancy and economic health of Kansas City's downtown. Kansas City's challenges are significant and interconnected. Low income without sustained and innovative efforts to address crime, support businesses, and retain residents, the city risks further decline, leaving its urban core increasingly fragile. 7. Milwaukee Wagming WI. Milwaukee, Wisconsin is facing a troubling combination of population decline, economic stagnation, and social challenges that threaten its future. Once a thriving industrial hub, the city is now grappling with the long-term effects of deindustrialization and slow economic growth, leaving its residents and infrastructure under significant strain. The population of Milwaukee County is projected to shrink by approximately 46,700 people, a 5.1% decline, between 2023 and 2028. This trend reflects a broader pattern of urban depopulation in the Midwest, driven by a lack of economic opportunities and the draw of suburban areas. Compounding this issue, the county experienced a 4.5% drop in jobs between 2018 and 2023, further highlighting the region's economic struggles. Milwaukee's core industries, such as manufacturing and brewing, have contracted significantly, leaving the city lagging behind national trends in job creation and economic growth. Economic stagnation is a persistent issue for Milwaukee. The city's median household income, at around $42,000, remains well below the national average, limiting upward mobility for many residents. Meanwhile, suburban job centers have drawn wealth and talent away from the city, exacerbating economic disparities. This outflow of resources has left Milwaukee's urban core struggling to compete both economically and socially. Crime and inequality are also major challenges for Milwaukee. The city's violent crime rate is consistently among the highest for large U.S. cities, creating a sense of insecurity for residents and deterring potential newcomers. Nearly 1 in 5 Milwaukee residents lives in poverty, placing immense pressure on social services and public resources. Educational achievement gaps and fragmented governance between the city and its suburbs further compound these issues, making it difficult to implement cohesive solutions. Milwaukee's challenges are deeply interconnected, and without significant investment in economic development, public safety, and social services, the city risks further decline. Addressing these issues will require bold leadership and innovative strategies to revitalize the city's economy, retain residents, and restore a sense of community and security. 6. New Orleans, LA. New Orleans, Louisiana, is a city steeped in history and culture, but it continues to face significant challenges that threaten its long-term viability. From persistent depopulation to economic vulnerability and infrastructure failures, the city's struggles are deeply rooted and multifaceted. Depopulation remains a critical issue for New Orleans. The city's population was approximately 364,136 in 2023, reflecting a 56% decline from 2022 and a 3% drop since 2020. These losses are part of a broader trend that began after Hurricane Katrina in 2005, as the city has never fully recovered its pre-storm population. Many residents cite a lack of job opportunities as the primary reason for leaving, highlighting the city's ongoing struggle to retain its workforce and attract new talent. Economically, New Orleans is highly vulnerable due to its reliance on the tourism and hospitality industries. While these sectors are central to the city's identity, they also leave it exposed to economic shocks, as seen during the COVID-19 pandemic. Recovery has been slow and unemployment remains higher than the national average. Poverty is deeply entrenched, affecting 22.9% of the population, with stark racial disparities. For example, poverty rates are as high as 75% among Native Americans and 24% among women. Without diversification into new industries, New Orleans risks losing younger professionals who seek better opportunities elsewhere. Infrastructure and environmental challenges further complicate the city's outlook. New Orleans is uniquely vulnerable to climate disasters, with aging levees, pumped drainage systems, and a fragile environment that frequently faces crises. Flooding from storms regularly damages roads and homes, while long-term capital projects to address these issues lag behind. The city's water and sewage systems, many of which are decades old, occasionally fail, creating additional hardships for residents and businesses. Safety and governance issues also weigh heavily on New Orleans. The city's violent crime rate is above the national average, contributing to a pervasive sense of insecurity. Public confidence in local leadership is low, with surveys revealing widespread hopelessness over crime and the state of public services. This lack of trust in governance has fueled outmigration and deterred investment, further compounding the city's challenges. New Orleans' struggles are deeply rooted in its history and geography, but they are not insurmountable. Addressing these issues will require a comprehensive approach that includes diversifying the economy, investing in infrastructure, and rebuilding public trust. Without meaningful action, however, the city risks further decline, leaving its rich cultural heritage overshadowed by its ongoing challenges. 5. Memphis, TN. Memphis, Tennessee, is facing a dire combination of economic collapse, population attrition, and entrenched social challenges that have placed it among the most distressed cities in the United States. Once a thriving hub of culture and commerce, Memphis now finds itself in a downward spiral that threatens its future. Economically, Memphis is in freefall. The city's metro area ranked a dismal 196th out of 200 in the Milken Institute's 2025 Best Performing Cities Index, with only Detroit, Lafayette, LA, Youngstown, and New Orleans scoring worse. This marks a dramatic decline from its ranking of 128 in 2022 and 175 in 2024. Underscoring the rapid deterioration of its economic standing. Job growth and wages in Memphis lag far behind those of peer cities, signaling a lack of opportunity and a struggling local economy. The city's inability to attract and retain businesses has left it vulnerable to further economic stagnation. Population attrition is another major issue plaguing Memphis. In 2023 alone, the city lost approximately 5,000 residents, continuing a troubling trend of outmigration. Many young adults and professionals are leaving Memphis for suburban areas or other states in search of better job prospects and quality of life. This exodus has had a significant economic impact, with one analysis estimating that the city lost around $2 billion in income as a result. The departure of skilled workers and middle-class families further weakens Memphis's tax base and economic vitality. Poverty and crime remain pervasive challenges in Memphis, creating a vicious cycle that is difficult to break. The city's poverty rate at approximately 22% is among the highest for any large U.S. city. Violent crime, while slightly reduced from its peak in 2023, 398 homicides, remains alarmingly high, with 299 homicides recorded in 2024. Weak employment prospects and high crime rates reinforce each other. Particularly in many of Memphis's most vulnerable neighborhoods, these issues not only strain social services but also deter investment and further contribute to the city's decline. Memphis's challenges are deeply interconnected, and addressing them will require bold and sustained efforts. Without significant investment in economic development, public safety, and social services, the city risks further decline, leaving its residents and future generations in an increasingly precarious position. 4. These challenges, compounded by aging infrastructure and rapid progression, rising crime, and systemic inequality, these challenges, compounded by aging infrastructure and underperforming schools, have placed Baltimore on a troubling trajectory. Depopulation has been a persistent issue for Baltimore, with the city's population slipping from approximately 576,600 in 2021 to 565,200 in 2023. This decline reflects a long-running demographic shift, including a shrinking black majority, rising poverty rates, and the outmigration of middle-class families. Many residents are leaving the city in search of better opportunities and safer neighborhoods, further eroding Baltimore's tax base and economic stability. Crime, particularly violent crime, remains a significant concern for Baltimore residents. While total homicides fell in 2023, other quality-of-life crimes have surged. Police data show carjackings up by an alarming 220% and robberies increasing by approximately 50% year-over-year. These violent street crimes have become a key reason families are choosing to leave the city, as safety concerns overshadow Baltimore's many positive attributes. The city's inability to effectively address these issues has left residents feeling vulnerable and frustrated. Education and inequality are also major challenges for Baltimore. The city's schools are underperforming, with 65% of schools earning the lowest state ratings. This lack of educational quality not only limits opportunities for Baltimore's youth, but also contributes to the city's broader social and economic struggles. Poor schools, combined with widespread housing blight, have concentrated poverty in many neighborhoods, exacerbating social strain and limiting upward mobility. Nearly 1 in 4 Baltimore residents lives in poverty, creating immense pressure on social services and public resources. Baltimore's aging infrastructure further compounds its challenges. Many public amenities such as water mains and parks are crumbling, and the city faces significant future risks due to its deteriorating infrastructure. For example, a $1.05 billion plan is currently being developed to replace a major downtown highway viaduct, highlighting the scale of the city's infrastructure needs. These issues not only hinder daily life for residents, but also make Baltimore less attractive to potential newcomers and businesses. Despite its challenges, Baltimore has the potential to turn things around. Addressing these issues will require bold leadership, significant investment, and a commitment to tackling the root causes of the city's struggles. Without meaningful action, however, Baltimore risks further decline, leaving its rich history and cultural legacy overshadowed by its ongoing challenges. Portland OR. Portland, Oregon, once celebrated as a vibrant and progressive city, is now grappling with rapid population decline, economic struggles, a homelessness crisis, and rising crime. These challenges have transformed Portland from one of the fastest-growing cities in the U.S. to one of the fastest-shrinking, raising serious concerns about its future. The city's population has been shrinking at an alarming rate. Between July 2021 and July 2022, Portland lost approximately 8,300 residents, and the trend has continued into 2024. Net migration has been negative for 3 consecutive years, a stark reversal from its previous status as a magnet for new residents. This exodus has alarmed demographers and reflects deeper issues within the city, as people increasingly choose to leave rather than stay. Economically, Portland is facing significant headwinds. Downtown office vacancy rates have soared to over 30%, a clear indicator of the city's struggling business environment. Key retailers and chains including REI and Target have shuttered their downtown locations, citing crime and theft as major factors. A local business alliance has warned that people and businesses vote with their feet, and they are not voting for Portland, like they have in the recent past. This sentiment underscores the city's declining appeal to both residents and businesses, further weakening its economic foundation. The homelessness crisis in Portland is another pressing issue. In 2023, an estimated 6,300 people were counted as homeless, though this is likely an undercount. Tragically, homeless deaths have quadrupled since 2019, rising from 113 to 450 by 2023. The city's response, which has included sweeping encampments and focusing on shelters, has been both controversial and costly. While these efforts aim to address the crisis, they have yet to produce meaningful results, leaving many residents frustrated and disillusioned. Rising crime has further eroded Portland's sense of safety and community. In 2023, the city experienced record highs in gun violence and other crimes, with significant increases in shootings and robberies reported by the Portland Police Department. Victims and businesses have become increasingly vocal about break-ins and assaults, adding to the city's growing reputation as unsafe. These safety concerns have driven many residents and businesses to leave, exacerbating the city's challenges. Portland's struggles are deeply interconnected, and addressing them will require bold leadership and innovative solutions. Without significant action, the city risks further decline, leaving its once bright future in jeopardy. 2. St. Louis, MO. St. Louis, Missouri is a city with a storied past, but its present is marked by severe population loss, economic decay, high crime rates, and political turmoil. Once a thriving industrial and cultural hub, St. Louis now faces a host of challenges that have left it struggling to maintain its identity and vitality. The city's population has been in freefall for decades. From a peak of approximately 850,000 residents in 1950, St. Louis now has fewer than 280,000, a staggering 65% decline. This exodus has hollowed out neighborhoods, leaving vast vacant lots and abandoned buildings that serve as stark reminders of the city's struggles. The shrinking population has also decimated the city's tax base, making it increasingly difficult to fund essential services and maintain infrastructure. Economic decay is another major issue for St. Louis. Major companies have left the downtown area, further eroding the city's economic foundation. Tax revenues are low, and basic services, including road maintenance, are underfunded. Local reports highlight businesses leaving, crumbling infrastructure, and a deteriorating tax base as key factors hindering public services. These economic challenges have created a vicious cycle, where declining resources lead to further disinvestment and decay. Crime remains a significant concern in St. Louis, which consistently ranks among the most violent cities in the nation on a per capita basis. While there have been recent decreases in some crime rates, they remain far above national norms. In 2025, the state of Missouri moved to assume control of the city's police force, citing St. Louis's population loss and crime levels as justification. This takeover bill reflects the severity of the city's public safety challenges and the state's lack of confidence in local leadership to address them effectively. Political and public safety turmoil have further eroded trust in St. Louis's government. Corruption scandals, such as a sheriff accused of abuse, have damaged the city's reputation and undermined public confidence. Law enforcement is also strained, with low officer morale and rising crime explicitly tied to the state legislature's intervention. These issues have left residents feeling abandoned and disillusioned, further contributing to outmigration and investment hesitancy. St. Louis's challenges are deeply rooted and multifaceted, but they are not insurmountable. Addressing these issues will require a comprehensive approach that includes revitalizing the economy, improving public safety, and restoring trust in local government. Without meaningful action, however, St. Louis risks further decline, leaving its rich history overshadowed by its ongoing struggles. On San Francisco, CA. San Francisco, California, once a symbol of innovation and prosperity, is now grappling with a series of challenges that have led to a population exodus, a housing and homelessness crisis, economic shifts, and growing public discontent. These issues have tarnished the city's reputation and raised concerns about its future. The city's population has been steadily declining, with San Francisco losing approximately 3,300 residents between January 2024 and January 2025. A 0.4% drop. This brings the city's population to about 6% below pre-pandemic levels. Many former residents cite unaffordable housing and a declining quality of life as key reasons for leaving. The exodus has left a noticeable impact on the city's vibrancy and economic stability. San Francisco's housing and homelessness crisis is one of its most pressing issues. While rents have plunged to about 20% below their 2019 highs, reflecting the outflow of residents, the city still struggles with severe unsheltered homelessness. A report found that 81% of San Francisco's homeless youth live on the streets, with far too few shelter beds available to meet the demand. This crisis has not only strained public resources but also contributed to visible street disorder, further eroding the city's appeal. Economically, San Francisco is undergoing a significant transition. Once a booming hub for the tech industry, the city now faces waves of company relocations and empty office spaces. While some tech hiring has resumed, the broader economic shift has hit service sectors particularly hard, leaving many workers and businesses struggling to adapt. The city's economic challenges are compounded by the loss of its once thriving downtown, which has yet to recover from the pandemic's impact. Crime and public perception add another layer of complexity to San Francisco's struggles. Paradoxically, official statistics show that violent crime in 2024 was near a 20-year low. However, high-profile incidents and visible street disorder, including open drug use and small-scale thefts, have fueled public fear and political tension. These issues have created a disconnect between official data and residents' lived experiences, further undermining trust in local leadership. San Francisco's challenges are significant, but they are not insurmountable. Addressing these issues will require bold leadership, innovative solutions, and a commitment to restoring the city's reputation as a place of opportunity and progress. Without meaningful action, however, the city risks further decline, leaving its future uncertain. The decline of these 10 cities highlights a troubling reality. While parts of America are thriving post-pandemic, others are falling into deeper crisis. Cities like San Francisco and Portland, once symbols of progress, are now seeing population loss, public safety concerns, and economic instability. Others, like St. Louis, Memphis, and Baltimore, suffer from decades of disinvestment, poverty, and crumbling infrastructure. This isn't just urban decay, it's a warning. As these cities lose residents, businesses, and trust in leadership, they place growing pressure on state and federal systems. These problems don't stay contained. They ripple outward, fueling inequality, draining resources, and sparking unrest. America cannot afford to ignore these warning signs. The growing gap between flourishing and failing cities reflects deeper fractures in the nation's foundation. If we don't act now, we may soon find that what's happening in these 10 cities isn't the exception, it's the future.